Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Raisin Brand podcast. My name is Aaron, and I'm a brand strategist here with Pixel Labs. And today, I'm joined with our production coordinator, Noah. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have quite the show in store for
It's gonna be fun.
you. So to kind of set it up, AI, of course, is making its rounds. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of advances, I'd say, within AI technology, even within the last couple months.
Mm-hmm.
We had a topic on this probably 6 months ago.
It was last summer. Yeah,
we talked about
almost
this a little
year
bit
ago, probably.
And that's a really cool podcast because we kind of got into like the whole who owns what when AI content is produced. You know, like who gets the rights to.
It was very much like a very starting out point for like the conversation of AI, and it's
Totally.
only snowballed from there.
I know, and what a wild ride it's been recently. So
Yes.
we're here today to talk a little bit about the tools, the AI tools, which it's hard to keep track of them all. I mean, they're just, you have your main ones, but then there's just so many just offshoots maybe is a way to put it.
Yeah,
a lot of larger.
it's kind of like NFTs. Everyone wanted their hand in it.
Well, and a lot of other companies are making their own version. I can't remember the name of Google's, Bard. I just got on that trial thing. But so I think the one that's made the biggest impact in our work is, of course, Chat GPT. So you want to give a little overview of that, and we'll talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so ChatGPT is pretty much, from my understanding, it's this open AI source type of thing where its main thing is just to write for you is the idea. Like, it's not one of those like art ones, or it's not like an audio one or anything like that. It's just simply you give it a prompt. Like, I think we were messing with it one day, and it was write me a movie script about Jurassic Park, but replace all the dinosaurs with kangaroos.
Yep.
And so it gave a quick synopsis of what that movie would entail, replacing dinosaurs with kangaroos and things like that, which is always, it's funny when you use it in that sense.
Right.
It feels like a joke.
Right.
But
well, and I think the other one that I did was the Three Little Pigs.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm trying to remember. It was the Three Little Pigs, but the wolf didn't know how to blow.
Oh,
and so it talked about how, it knocked on the door of the houses and tried to break in, and it couldn't. And then, like, to try and break into the last house. Oh, no, and then it couldn't get through the first two houses, but it got through the third.
Oh.
And so it didn't know how to get through the first two houses, and then it, like, dug a hole next to the foundation of the brick house, and then used, like, some sort of bomb to, like, break it through.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Silly.
But what I think is interesting about ChatGPT is it scrapes the internet in like seconds to then bring back kind of a composed thought.
That's all of them, though, from what I discovered. Like, even the art ones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's how it works. And that's why people were so upset. Like, especially artists were so upset is because in some of these really, really advanced ones, people could actually pick out elements from a famous painting. And they were like, this is really bad because a copywritten work is in this.
Oh, so you can almost, and we actually had it on here to talk about DALL-E 2, which is one that's specifically photo and visual. Well, and so that's interesting because you could do like the Mona Lisa, but like realism. And then, who gets credit for that? Do you get credit for that? Or, I know that that one probably is a little different because it's old, but say somebody, I don't know who popular artists are right now. That's not a realm that I dive into.
Yeah,
but
really
like, so say the top United States artist, whoever that would be, they come out with a painting, and then you create some interesting version of it. I mean, would that be something you could sell, or would that be that it would be copyrighted? That's a realm I don't totally understand.
I've heard it explained like this, that actually we can thank PETA for understanding that AI art cannot be copywritten. In my understanding,
PETA?
So here's the story. I'm going to get to it in a second. PETA, a case with PETA proved that AI,
like the pet
art,
safety animal. Okay.
cannot be copywritten. And here's how it goes. So there's a guy that was taking photos out in the jungle, doing nature stuff. A monkey, intelligent animal, grabs his camera, gets a hold of his gear somehow or whatever, ends up taking a selfie, a really bad low-angle selfie, but it's kind of funny because it looks like one that you would take just on your phone. Like, it's super funny because it looks like this monkey has a cell phone in the jungle. And the artist started making money from it. PETA got upset because their whole thing is that they advocate for the rights of animals. And a human making money off of a photo that a monkey took of himself The guy wasn't in the photo at all. It's literally just a monkey looking down at the camera, and he happened to hit the button. And that it ended up going to court because they were getting so upset about it because the guy was making money off of it, whatever, because he was, I think, calling it art and whatnot.
Did they want the money from it?
They wanted...
I want to know what their goal is.
I think they wanted, the idea of it was the money should go to the monkey, but obviously you can't pay an animal. So the idea would then be, I think it was this workaround of it was either going to go to them, or all the money from this was supposed to go to like a sanctuary for this type, or like for science and this kind of money. Like it was, they were trying to rework it so that all this money the guy was making from this photo was actually going to go back to the animal in some roundabout way.
Gotcha.
The court deemed that because the animal, the monkey, was the one that took the photo, it could not be copywritten because it was not created by a person. So I think what happens in the AI realm with the art stuff is that you can copyright the software you use for the AI, but if you tell the AI art to make something for you, and because it scours the internet and grabs pieces of everything that's already been made, you cannot copyright that because you as a person did not put pen to paper, you did not put cursor to digital paper. It was this computer program made the entire thing all in itself.
So you can't get anything from that.
I think you can technically, I think that's where, I think the money aspect gets into a great, I know copyright, they say no to that. Or that's, or it's a basis for why AI art cannot be copywritten is because a person never did anything besides make the software.
Well, and okay, so say I do a Harry Potter spinoff where Voldemort wins and kills everyone, and I want to charge a $5 fee at a movie theater for people to see it.
That gets into actually the realm of copyright that I know more of, and I think that's getting more so like
but what if it
illegal
takes
because
place
you're using actual characters that you don't own. So if you made something very similar, like say it was like instead of a young wizard named Harry, it was a young wizard girl named Hannah.
Well, and it probably has to depend with what you inputted. Like if you said make a Harry Potter spinoff, but instead of Hogwarts, it's the Bahamas, and instead of the good guys winning, the bad guys win. Mm-hmm. But change everyone's names, but keep them close. You know, it probably depends a little bit on...
It could fall into spoof. It could fall into parody. That could be a good case for parody, which then the issue would be you would have yourself open. Because I think the ultimate issue... with copyright, the only thing it protects you from is that if you make something, I can't steal it from you and go make money myself, right? That's the whole idea behind it.
Right.
So I think whenever you use AI stuff, even if it is, say, an original script made by AI, like whatever original might be type of thing, however you want to view that, but just for this example to keep it simple. So say you use the ChatGPT to make a script, you make the movie yourself, not using AI, but the script is all AI generated. Mm-hmm. It falls under that parody clause because the characters are close to Harry Potter, but they're not Harry Potter. There's enough change.
But what if it's not funny?
That doesn't matter. Parody doesn't have to be funny.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Parody just means that it's like
it sounds like
it's like not everyone laughs at Weird Al, but he never gets into legal problems because he changes enough to where it's okay.
Okay.
So that's the thing. If you change everything, like you said, it's fine. But then the issue would come if I took that script and sold it. I don't think you could get mad at me, but I don't think you have any legal ground to sue me back unless I took the film you made and sold it. Because you made the film. A person edited that. A person shot that. There are real life actors in that. All those people can claim that stake like a real movie. But the script, I believe, based on the kind of little information I know from what I've pieced together on the internet, is that script can't be copywritten because it was made by AI. And that means that anyone can use that script, and you can't get mad that other people might have made a better version of that script than you, like a better movie with that script than you, and are making more money off of it. That's a long tangent out of the way. It's all very, very confusing from what I've gathered.
And I mean, copyright already is a pretty confusing
Copyright's hard. I took a whole class on it, and holy cow, it's annoying.
Well, but there's even still lawsuits of stuff like that isn't even figured out. You know, like
No,
people,
yeah. And people try. Like Weird Al's been to court multiple times under that parody kind of thing. He's won every single one because, again, he changes enough about the songs to where you can't dock him for that. Same with satire.
I
and
also
stuff
think
like
like somebody who's listening to a Weird Al song is there to listen to Weird Al. They're not listening to his song in substitute of the song that he's
exactly. And
parodying.
that's how parody works, is that it's adding on to the additional art of it. It's kind of like how South Park can use Mickey Mouse because they put him in a t-shirt and tie. They keep the voice, they keep the look, they keep that he has the classic pants on with like the 2 buttons, but because they put that shirt and tie on him, they can make Mickey Mouse say whatever they want, and they can make him sound exactly like Mickey Mouse does,
Right.
and make him say whatever they want.
And nobody would ever go like. I just think about like if they're gonna buy a Mickey Mouse toy for a kid, they're gonna buy the Mickey Mouse toy, not the South Park Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, like they would never buy something that doesn't look like, because it doesn't look like it. The animation style is different, and they added the shirt and tie. The
Right.
shirt and tie is literally legally how they protect themselves, because if they didn't have that, Disney could come in, and I think they tried, from my knowledge, when they first introduced Mickey Mouse in that series.
Disney's very protective
holy
of that.
cow.
Yeah.
Oh, so protective. I think they tried, and I think they won. Or it got to a point where they were like, here's our evidence, and it never got to court type of thing. Like the lawyers just had to be like, I mean, they're not doing anything illegal. They changed it enough. And I think they call him Mr. Mouse. They never call him Mickey Mouse, or they say Mickey, which is just a name.
And it's just
I think if they ever said Mickey Mouse, I don't know for a fact if they've ever said that in the show, but I think if they called that character Mickey Mouse, then I think that's where some copyright comes into play as well, of like, you can't use the name Mickey Mouse. You can call him Mickey, because there's people named Mickey. No one is named Mickey Mouse. No human being alive is named Mickey Mouse.
Oh, I don't know.
But I know people named Mickey.
I have to Google it. All right, well, we should get back. Because we're
back on
going a little
topic.
bit off.
We're
Well,
going
ask
way off
Chat
topic.
GPT what
Holy cow.
it thinks. So the meat and potatoes of this video, we wanted to ask the question, will your job be canceled by AI?
Yes.
I'm very excited for this.
I'm super excited.
I'm very excited. So we'll get right into it. We have a few jobs here that we wanted to take a look at, talk about, and ultimately cast a vote on whether you or I, very intelligent people that you should definitely trust with our opinions. But we're very excited about this. So
The data was collected by us 10 minutes ago with the knowledge that we have in our heads.
Yep, subject matter experts.
Yes. And we have our
Self-proclaimed.
professional voting devices as well.
So the game is simple. It's
Super simple.
we say the job, we say yes or no,
Yes or no.
and then we talk about it.
Yep.
And I actually don't, we talked about maybe knowing each other's thoughts ahead of time. I don't really think that we do, and I think there's going to be a good
Nope,
conversation.
I think it's going to be funny.
I think we're going to be good.
fun.
Okay. So first job is actors. Do you want to do like a countdown?
Actors? So, yeah. Okay, so actors, will AI take over the job of acting?
Yes.
That's the question? Okay,
Yes.
cool. Yeah, do a countdown.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
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 Well, and so I guess I'll start with so I think anything that's art is very human.
Mm-hmm.
I think about like some of those beautiful paintings, a lot of times, while they are visually beautiful, there's oftentimes a story attached to it.
Yep.
And I just think about movies, art, music. Not always, but in my mind, of like the greatest greats of those performances, pieces, there's oftentimes a story that is very human that's attached to it. Specifically in the role of actors, there's a lot of technology like in Fast and the Furious, and I can't remember that guy's name, and that probably
Paul
is
Walker.
like a sin. Paul Walker. I know that he was brought in using technology
Yep.
After he passed away. So I do think that AI will contribute to an actor's role, whether it's potentially script enhancement. I don't know if I'm a fan of that, but that might happen. But I also think about visually, there might be ways to, like the editing process. Well, I'm branching outside of actors now, but say they couldn't get a specific shoot for a certain reason or something didn't look quite right, they might be able to use AI to go back in and touch stuff up.
Maybe,
without then having to go back in. But I'd be curious to hear your take on it.
So I would agree. I don't think actors would ever fully be replaced by AI. Simply like what you said, is just that there's too much of a human element from the little bit of high school theater I did, but also mainly from like knowing actors and stuff like that, because I've done short film work and stuff like that. All the greatest actors in the world, like the Ian McKellens, Alan Rickmans, like all Patrick Stewart, all of them who've done Broadway
Alan
as well.
Also passed away, didn't he?
Huh?
Alan Rickman did?
Alan Rickman did pass away, yep. But literally all of them they've done Broadway, they've done animated stuff, they've done live action movies and stuff like that, musicals, everything. They talk about how acting is all about reacting. If you are thinking of your line while the other person is talking to you, then you're not acting, according to most of them, because it's supposed to feel, that's why it feels real, is every line you say is supposed to feel like an organic thought in your head. It's not scripted to them. Like to the characters, it's not scripted, it's their life. And I think there's so much of that ingrained in just the art of acting that you could never replicate that with an AI component, to be able to sit on screen and deliver a monologue that could make someone cry, like as if they were listening to like a real human being that they could then maybe later shake hands with, or someone that they knew was real, like on screen or something like that.
So I'd be curious your take on, and this is a little different. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but like video games. Video games can draw emotion, and a lot of times the thing you're seeing isn't a real person.
And same with anime, like Disney movies. I cried when Bing Bong died or vanished in Inside Out.
Bing Bong is.
It's the little imaginary friend character from Inside Out.
Okay, I'll have to look.
It's a Pixar movie.
I might have seen that one.
Or better yet, I cry in
like that
Pixar
name.
movies. Those aren't real people.
So, and then I'd be curious, like, and
like why?
Well, but like, so we kind of wanted to talk about this, voice actors, voiceovers, because now we're kind of into that realm a little bit with animation. That was. Do we want to do a vote for this one, or just kind of keep talking?
I think my vote would say the same. Of like, no, it can't fully replace it. It can't replace it enough, in my opinion, simply because, kind of like with the acting stuff. Even I've seen behind the scenes stuff of like the God of War video games, and one of the actors that plays the main character, they do motion capture stuff, and he talks about how his character's son, played by an actual person walking around with him, that he's grown, like he's like, I've seen him grow, and like we're like almost like a real family, even though we're like not blood related. And so I think that element of it, you could eliminate that entirely, yes, with voiceover work, whether it be AI or not. But I think that because they have people acting it out, and even in a studio of like a voiceover artist for like a Pixar movie, for example, that the story that they're telling means something to them, or that character means something to them, or to an AI robot, it means nothing. It's words that they need to generate to say. If you don't know something is a robot, like if you don't know something's AI generated, could it still elicit an emotion from you if it is powerful, if the software is powerful enough to sound like a real human voice? Yes, I will say that. But if you made a movie all generated through AI art and like all AI stuff, like voiceover and everything, and you told people that, I don't think that you would necessarily, I think there's like a political debate in that sense of like, would people go to it or not? But like, say you showed it to someone and you told them this is generated through AI.
Well, and I
I don't think that they would have the same reaction.
I do want to make a note that I don't think we're at that point where it could do it that well. I think it will get to a point, and it's hard to know, like, would you be able to get to a point to tell it like, hey, spit out a Harry Potter remake, change this, and this, and within minutes you'd have the whole thing. Like, I mean, it would make sense that it would get to that point, but like, there's enough stuff that I think would happen in between then, potentially legislation, copyright, stuff like that, that would maybe stop it. I do wonder about, so like the mainstream tools, the chat GPTs, it won't do certain things. But I would be curious, like, do you know, is OpenAI and chat GPT, is that open source? Do you happen to know?
I don't know.
But what I would be curious about is, would there be kind of like a black market equivalent to some of these,
Yep.
Because, I mean, in theory, like, you could set limitations, but someone nefarious would be like,
Exactly.
that's dumb.
Well, it's like with
Like,
sci-fi movies, like when they, like in like a Star Trek movie or something, or like a Star Wars movie, where they fake a hologram, and that wasn't the real message. They spliced it together, like they edited it, type of thing. It's like we see it on like TikTok with the presidents playing Minecraft with Joe Rogan.
yeah.
That's not real in any way, shape, or form.
Well,
They've never said
right.
those things,
Right.
but the voice generates it, and it sounds pretty real.
Right.
But yeah, I think that I think the most it could replace is if you needed a quick 30-second bit and you were able to use a software that like you can plug in someone's voice over and over and over again for it to just get better at using that person's voice. I think for like a minute and under, it could be really, really well because you don't need it to spit out long monologues. You don't need it to really spit out a lot of information. But even in the sense of like a nature documentary, I don't even think that in having an AI generated narration, like voiceover for that, would be beneficial. Just because then it's like, because the animal doesn't know it's in this example, the animal doesn't know it's being recorded. So like you'd have to have that human emotion of the deer walks this way.
I think it depends on how
Something
good the
like that.
dynamics gets, because it seems
That could be part of it too. Is that maybe right now I've never experienced an AI voiceover thing with dynamics that are dynamic enough.
right. Like, because at some point you're not actually saving yourself any time. Because like if you have to, I think about some of the images that I see, and this kind of crosses a little bit between image and text, but a little of them that I see. They are writing huge descriptions, and like to get super specific images, and probably still even in that case, it does save you time. It also saves you money. Like if you want a backdrop that is super specific, like because then you take account into like where would you have to travel to take that picture, what furniture would you need, whatever. Like, but at some point, if you're having to craft an AI voice that's so specific, you're talking about like you have to be. Say 10 is super happy, 1 is super sad. Like you have to mark, between this time frame and this time frame, you're at a 4. At this time frame, you're at a 2. Like if you're having to go and craft all of this at some point, you may or may not be saving yourself time. I do agree on the shorter stuff. I mean, we've sampled with stuff here and done voiceovers and even actually used some. Because one thing that is super helpful with it is it creates total flexibility.
Yes, that's awesome.
I think it just depends on what the goal is. But I do see there probably will be a little bit of I'm trying to think of the word, where there'll be a little bit of a replacement of talent in a small way. But
I think, because even then when you think about it, voiceover artists, if you only need a 30-second bit, but you need that, like you say you're working with a client that keeps changing the script over and over and over again, the voiceover artists, like, most of the time, there's people that charge by the word. There's people that charge by the time it takes them. 30 seconds. There's only so many words that can fit in a 30-second clip. There's only so much time it takes you to record a 30-second bit.
Right.
So most of the time, they just lump that as like a big sum to make it worth their time. That's where I view the AI voice-generated stuff being very beneficial, is that you might pay someone to use their voice in that sense, but then because everyone has this understanding that it's not good enough to be able to do a full length thing, it's only good enough to do like a minute, and like it only saves you enough time to do a minute, then like it's okay. And that because then too, it's like, well, they want to use this, or it's like a thing of your client wants to use the same ad every single year, but all they're doing is changing the percentage of the sale that goes on. Like say they're like a car dealership or something. Oh, this year the sale is 20%. Next year it's 30%. Like it just changes every year. That's where the AI voice, in my opinion, would be super beneficial, because you just go in real fast, make it say 30%, slide that into the video, you're good to go. Instead of waiting for someone to get back to you to say 30% sale.
Right.
And that's all you need.
Right. Well, and it's interesting too, because I think some people don't like that idea.
A lot of people don't like that. Yeah, because not everyone you can take their word for it. Similar with like the art stuff, not to get too far over into that category again.
Well, and I think this actually we talked about in our first podcast was I think there's a need to be honest about some of that.
Because it's scary. It could take someone's job if all they're getting is 30-second commercials, and they're making a living off of that. And then you come in with an AI thing, and you're like, I only need you to record once in your entire life, and then we're just going to keep
Well, and
replacing
that's
it.
what we talked about, the ethics of that. Like, you pay the few $100s for a voiceover that's a minute, whatever.
Yeah, you can use that
with
forever.
some of those tools, you can sample that and use that forever. That's where I'd be curious. Like,
that's where I think people have a problem with it.
And so we would not do that. But you wonder, where does the copyright rules fall on that?
Yeah, it gets weird.
I do think that is just kind of an interesting piece of it.
Because he has like, can you copyright your voice?
I don't know, but should we go to the next one?
Yeah, we should.
All right, we should keep moving. All right, are you ready?
Yep.
We're gonna do the countdown again.
Yep.
Don't forget about the countdown.
Yep.
Okay. Programmers and developers. 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, so this is like potentially going to either date the podcast or it's just going to be kind of a funny story. My sister and her boyfriend, they work for a company up in Madison, and her boyfriend's job is to go in and break the software because it gets sent out to medical facilities, and if they don't want it to break while the medical facility is using it. So his job is whenever they come out with a new update, he goes in and floods it with all these like tasks to see if he can get it to just shut down because there's too many going in at once, or he inputs things incorrectly because like user error and things like that. And his goal is he tries to break it for them so that they can go back and they can fix it. I view that job easily replace, like, apologies to him if he ever would hear this, but like super replaceable, because the whole point is just to flood it. Like, you could easily program something to say, put everything in there all at once. It puts in all the tasks at once. You see it shut down. We got to fix that because everything went in and the system couldn't handle it.
Well, so I'm less familiar with some of that stuff. What I've seen though is like somebody had it, and this is so. Again, I don't think some of it is at the point now for some of this stuff. I do think it will get there. But I saw somebody programmed or had ChatGPT program like the original Pong on the computer.
Oh, interesting.
So I think about,
like writing the code for that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of that stuff is beyond me. But like, so say for example, I don't know, you want to make a new tool for like a lawn mowing company. And be like, I want to create a software to sell as a service. And I want to create a tool that's for lawn mowing companies to help them manage their clients, send out reminder texts. And I'm like, ChatGPT, I want you to tell me how to do it. I want you to write the code. I want you to tell me which integrations I need. And then I want you to tell me how to package it and then sell it.
So instead of paying the person that went to a 4-year college to write code,
and several $1,000s, tens of thousands,
ChatGPT, and it codes you a website in an afternoon.
Well, I mean, like, that's the question. I've seen it code websites. The thing I'm less familiar with is the programs. So like the actual like software that would run behind like a website front or a login or a downloadable thing.
Yeah, but it'd be real suspicious if you took all the code to then someone that puts that and be like, oh, I have the code, but I don't know how to do this part. And they're like, how did you figure out the code if you don't know how to like put it on the computer? Like, what? I've not toyed with that, but
I
could see where people get upset with it, like similar to other stuff we talked about. I could see people getting upset with that, but I do think that would be highly susceptible to
I also saw
over.
I saw a joke post today. I can't remember if it was on LinkedIn or what, but it was from Google, not actually from Google. It was fake, but it was like lead developer, no college required, only need 1 week of experience with ChatGPT. So that was kind of funny, but
yeah.
Okay, so we do think that.
I think it would be. I think it could be replaced by AI, and then it gets into the ethics of like, is that really a good use of AI? And then also, what happens if you run into an error that you need a person to fix? Like, could you have a whole business model of web development where you don't have a single employee that does code? Even if it's really, really good, I don't think you could, but that also would take away jobs. Like, you might just have to have someone monitoring it to make sure it's writing the code properly. But if 90% of the time it works, you don't need 2 people with coding information to work that. if it works 90% of that 10% of the time it doesn't work, you have that one person to fix it.
Yeah, no, and the one thing I keep hearing with AI is it only will run until the singularity. It only will run on an input. So somebody has to input something, and it can only generate a combination of what has already been generated. So
Okay, yeah. So
the art of it creating something truly new
is like impossible.
that's what the people say.
Gotcha. But at the same time, though, when you look at like what you talked about with programming or like web development, it's like you really got to want to do something new. That like how many like people just need or want a website and they just want to do the simple buttons. They just want to go homepage,
Right.
this, that, da, 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 da.
Well, and there probably are better solutions like Wix or something that would
Well,
serve,
probably, yeah.
but right. So
But
and
yeah,
like
it's
when
that
it
whole
spits
thing.
out code, I mean, it's not coming up with it. It's scouring the internet.
Exactly. But again, if you just need those simple buttons, there's nothing really ultra creative about that. You just need it to be able to do something like that.
Yeah. So,
I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, I stand by my answer, but I don't know if ethically it would be.
well, and I think
that's a whole other conversation.
That's what's
yeah.
important. I mean, we talk about that a lot. That's important. But okay, next one is doctors.
Ooh, doctors. There
All
we
right.
go. AI
3.
doctors.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah,
All right, 3, 2, 1.
that's a no.
Okay, we agree. We
Okay,
agree.
cool.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, the interesting thing I do think though is, I'm trying to remember what class this was. I think it was a class. There was a marketing class at school in college, and the professor always joked about our phones being our second brains. Like if you don't know the answer,
yep.
just use your phone as your second brain. One thing I do see for the potential with AI and doctors is diagnosing. I wonder if that would be valuable. I don't know if being married to a nurse, if you have any insight on that potentially or not, but.
So, not to totally rag on doctors, but it's like I think everyone notices when they go to the doctor's office, the person with the doctoral degree is only in there for like 2 minutes. They're not in there for very long. They're there because on the off chance that something really, really major happens, they have the know-how. It's kind of how like my wife has described it to me as a nurse, is that nurses will handle most of your, like say you go in for just like physical. They'll handle most of that. Doctor will come in and do the whole thing of like, hey, like I just want to check you because again, it's essentially like I have this degree. I'm all in this scenario, I'm the all saying thing because I went to school the longest. Like, yep, it all sounds good. Essentially, the nurse did her job. Like, neat. Or like the nurse did their job, I should probably say. But that's where I think, yeah, what you said, it could be very beneficial. And I think even save nurses time if they didn't have to sit through, my stomach hurts. Okay, what hurts about it? It's just like it hurts when I sit up, but when I lay down, it feels fine-ish. And it's like, do you want to come in? Do I need to? And then they're just like, oh my gosh. Okay, like, it just turns into a whole other thing. And that's wasting everyone's time.
So that could be handled potentially by AI.
That could be nice if you could put in, like, or it gives you options of things to pick from, and then it kind of will give you a better list of diagnosis of like, oh, it might, like, I guess kind of like the WebMD stuff kind of does that a little bit to some degree. You type in your symptoms and it kind of tells you.
You're going to die. Whatever your symptoms
It'd be nice
are.
if like cancer wasn't always listed at the top. My stomach hurts. It's probably an ulcer. It's like, oh, you might have done abs too much.
Well,
like,
and that's interesting because then you start to get in like, who was the money behind some of that development? And this is getting far out. But like, so say the person developing the AI is a medical.
Yeah,
this is dumb, but like a medical sales company.
It's like with the prescription company. I think that's where you're going. Like it's like with the prescription companies, you don't always need the prescriptions, but
they can sell
it's
it.
An easy sell.
They can sell it. We're getting a little bit out there on this podcast today, but. No, so I think that I think overall, no, but I think there could be some supportive elements of AI.
I think there's always supportive elements of AI, like in everything. And that I think that as people will never fully ditch. There's always going to be a job for like someone, I think, in the realm of like everything we talked about. I think it comes down to like personal ethics and then just how you want to use your like money in the sense of like a business or something like that, of like oh, it's cheaper just to use an AI voiceover, or it's cheaper just to use an AI secretary in the doctor example or something like that. But like, there's benefits to like people doing that kind of stuff as well that just doesn't always work out for AI stuff.
And I'm gonna use I'm gonna use an example that I heard once about like remote workers.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about it, businesses and especially small businesses, like remote working is great, but and that we actually were talking about this around the office. Like a remote worker can't help take the trash out or help vacuum or like some of those things where. Like, we just exist in a world where there's just, like, there's just things that need to get done sometimes that it takes a human to do.
Or even looking at it from, like, the McDonald's standpoint of, like, they have the menu boards you can order from now. The menu board doesn't tell you in a nice voice, hey, have a great day. Or, like, oh, like, yeah, like, would you like this added in or something like that?
Well, and even if it did, it wouldn't,
it wouldn't be nice.
No,
there's that human touch that's still nice on everything.
Every time I check out of Walmart, it's like, thank you for shopping at Walmart, and I always mock it because it's just
it
odd.
just sounds bad. It just doesn't sound
I've only
real.
heard it 18,000 times.
And even if they made it sound like a real voice, I think we still mock it because it's a machine.
Yeah,
it's a machine talking to you.
I think we're gonna wrap it up there.
100%.
I think that we talked. There was one more, but it was author, and I think between the other creatives, I think we kind of touched on that enough.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully this was fun. I enjoyed it. I think that this is a super, like, this could be an 8-hour long podcast about all of the nuances
already.
Of this one has been a longer one, which is fun. But just like the realm that it can go, I saw somebody ask ChatGPT, like, hey, I'm trying to remember, like, hey, I have $100. Tell me how to make as much money as fast as I can. And it came up with this whole, like, and I can't think of the word of it. As the podcasts sometimes get longer, I start to like not be able to think of words, like come up with stuff. But it came up with this whole like business model that they actually implemented, and it had to do with like influencer marketing and selling, and I think they made like $25,000 based on what it said to do. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But hey, Noah, thank you. Always appreciate the conversation. Always appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
But hey, y'all. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure if you're listening to the audio of this, you missed a lot of, I would say, interesting, good visual stuff. So make sure to jump over to our YouTube channel. We do have a newsletter that we're going to start sending out with information about this podcast and also just industry trends. So make sure to hop over to our website, theraisinbrand.co, and we'll see you there. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Raisin Brand podcast powered by Pixel Labs. Remember to subscribe to stay up to date on all things Raisin Brand.